Good evening, gentlemen. The topic of my speech is homelessness. Homelessness is defined as a category of people without regular housing or dwelling because they are otherwise unable to acquire, maintain regular, safe, and adequate housing. According to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, there were 643,067 people living in shelters and unsheltered places in 2008. That number has increased in the past 3 decades. The number one reason for homelessness is due to lack of affordable housing. The next is mental illness, followed by substance abuse and low-paying jobs. Many people can't afford housing due to living on minimum wage. Mental illness plays a part because people can't afford health care. Substance abuse contributes because many people have other problems that they can't handle, so they turn to drugs. Low-paying jobs, the money that they make is not enough to pay their bills, and they often get in financial binds and sometimes wind up losing their housing. Minor reasons for homelessness are prisoner release, unemployment, and poverty. When people are faced with these types of problems, they tend to turn to violence or become a victim of violence. According to the annual reports on homelessness, males are more likely to be homeless than female members. Minority groups and men older than the age of 31 and alone. More than 2/5 of shelters homeless have disabilities. At the same time, white non-Hispanic are at 38% and children are at 20%. These numbers have increased since 2008. According to the U.S. Conference of Mayors, the demand for emergency shelters in 270 cities has increased. It is not accurately known approximately how long a person is homeless, but statistics have shown that 80% of people are homeless less than 3 weeks. This is because they typically have more social and economic resources to draw upon. However, when housing and shelters are not available, people are forced to live on the streets. They sleep in places like abandoned buildings, parks, underpaths, and catwalks. Fortunately, there is hope for the homeless. In 2009, President Obama passed the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009. This act is to help each state make provisions to provide additional assistance and resources to help prevent homelessness. Also, the U.S. Congress appropriated $25 million to the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Grant to help with rapid housing programs. Organizations around the world continue to ask for money to help decrease homelessness. Many advocates for the homeless say that homelessness and the attitudes of people play a part in how a homeless person rises from their situation. Evidence shows that many people complain about the presence of homelessness. However, reports show that society still has compassion for the homeless. Many homeless people complain that the police officers are their biggest problem. They feel that if they are not bothering anyone, why should the police bother them? Many homeless people have no way to communicate with the outside world. They don't have access to phones or emails. Here in Jacksonville, Florida, the homeless are often found in the public library. They stay there and use the computers and other resources until it is time for the shelters to open. When a person stays at a shelter, they are given breakfast at 5 a.m. and put out on the streets. They wander the streets until it is time to come back to the shelter. Many people in shelters complain about the long lines. If you are not there by a certain time, you will either have to sleep on the streets or in other places. The overall well-being of a homeless person is not good. Many develop illnesses that they cannot recover from. There are many reasons a person can become homeless. It is not a choice a person makes to become that way. In order for this problem to get better, we as a society, along with government officials, need to pull together and help these people in their time of need. The Bush administration established a national goal to end chronic homelessness in 10 years. That means that they hope that the problem would have decreased by the year 2012. If the funds continue to become available, then the problem should slowly decrease. However, with the economy trying to rise from recession, the 10-year plan is not looking hopeful. The president continues to try and provide funds available to help the homeless. As stated before, we can help the homeless if everyone pulls together and combat this problem. Once housing and jobs become available, this problem should improve. Until then, the homeless have to rely on whatever resources are available to them. I would like to thank you for your time and have a good evening.